Fill the Sangha Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo saranto suchedoye alahudi samyao sanputoshe. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa, bai qian wan jie nan zao yu. Wo jin jian wen de shou chi, yuan jie ru lai zhen shi yi. I'll give you a line, you give it back. Supreme and wondrous Dharma. Subtle and profound. Rarely is encountered. Even in a million eons. But now we see and hear it, and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master and Dharma friends, good evening and welcome to our Sutra lecture here at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. And you may be listening across the planet in where it's 12:30 in the afternoon in southeastern Queensland. And there may be as many people in that room as there are here, I'm not sure. But we're all equally welcome and delighted to be here tonight to actually, finally, conclude the seventh ground. We've got the last three verses of our text, 4 verses of our text, and then we're done with the seventh ground and ready to move on to the eighth ground. So this is a concluding moment that we've been preparing for months when we started this particular text. And this, as I held our gradually but inexorably growing booklet, I realized I was holding the 10 Grounds chapter in my hands. A new translation in progress. Certainly not the best, not the last. It's going to be improved from the one we're holding in our hands, but by golly, here it is. So that's quite an achievement. We've got 8th, 9th, and 10th ground to go before we're done, but I can now, at last, envision a time when we'll be sitting here saying, look, here's the whole 10 grounds chapter between covers in English. I'm looking forward to that day, and I hope all of us will be here that evening when we can do that. It shouldn't be too much longer, you know. And I'm in that, there's a lot in that comment, which is to say, this monastery will still be here. The earthquake won't have happened yet. And the White House will still be standing on its foundations. Washington, D.C. will still be there. And we'll be turning the Dharma wheel as always. Some things don't change. Looking forward to that day indeed. Meanwhile, why don't we get underway by invoking the spirit of the Avatamsaka, the Flower Garland Sutra, reciting the names of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And it's there on the front cover of your text. We'll do the Chinese. Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Jing Hua Yan Well, the more alert of you will notice that I am not a picture tube, nor am I a digital readout or a display. I'm an actual three-dimensional flesh and blood monk sitting right here. And I want to say gratitude. Thank you for putting up with virtual lectures for 4 months, 4.5 months. And special gratitude to the two monks in orange robes sitting right here in front of me, who last week, now that was a record. Talk about short notice, 3 minutes short notice before they came up and lectured on the text, right? What a joke. Oh my goodness. I've never had 3 minutes notice. I've had 5 minutes notice and 7 minutes notice, but never 3. And I was there in the Gold Coast. We had our texts open. I had the incense lit. I bowed. I had my guitar in one hand and speaker and all ready to go. And we're looking at the text. And I'm thinking, tonight I get to say the last 3 verses of the Avatamsaka of the 7th ground. Sure enough, Dharma Master Jinfu says, 不好啊，故障了. The internet is down. It's not working. 来来去去的不可靠. You know, it's like, oh no. So get on the phone. Dharma Master, I called the monastery phone. Jinfu, hello. Jinfu 是你愿不愿意讲经啊? 什么时候? And luckily Jin Chuan was there, and Jinfu, so the two of them, he had prepared. Jinfu had prepared. He was ready to go. So that was short notice, by golly. So sometimes conditions work out. If that, you know, if you had not been ready, and I had to say, I'm sorry, folks, that's not right. You know, this lecture series is supposed to continue. 佛日增光法论常转. Right? The Buddha's sunlight increases in its radiance, and the Dharma wheel constantly turns. The Dharma wheel ever turns. But it is very nice. My name is Heng Sure. I know many of you haven't seen me for 4.5 months, and you go, let's see, you look familiar. What's your name here? And other ones are going, did you ever leave? I didn't even notice you were gone. Oh. But it's nice to be back, and one of the best parts about it is if those of you who can see will turn around and look at the dragon on the balcony. There's a dragon on the balcony, and it's our green dragon. That may be Elopatra, the dragon king, or Vasuki, the dragon king. There he is in technicolor, right? Dragons change their shapes. And this only happens starting May, right? It's May until August, essentially, or September, when the dragon moves across the balcony and out onto McKinley Avenue. So how lovely. Now, those of you who are watching online, either in person or later, won't know what we're talking about. But because we have, I guess maybe, we don't dare move that camera, do we, Alan? Our tech man, it's not a dolly, it doesn't turn, but the resolution may not, yeah. So anyway, that's. What do you think, tech team? Can we show it, or did we dare move the camera? Is that a good idea or a bad idea? We can. This is a different camera. We upgraded the camera. I brought back. So I'll show the dragon. Of course, everybody watching is going, dragon? Dragon? What dragon? Dragon in the balcony? I only see some friends up in the balcony. What do you mean dragon? So the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery is blessed with stained glass bodhisattvas and dragons, and also devas. There are 8 of these windows produced by Serenity Glassworks, Carolyn Powers, who put them all together. And when the sun sets over the Golden Gate Bridge, has to be the right time of year, which it is now. The days are lengthening and the sun is in the right angle. You know, as our planet turns, it returns on multiple axes, and it's also moving around the sun. So the sun sets 1 degree north every day. And then it reaches the equinox and the solstice, and it goes back. So it's just the right time, and our monastery is aligned. Jerry, can you keep going to the balcony? That's what I want people to see. Our monastery is aligned perfectly north and south so that the sun rises and sets east and west, and those sun rays come through our stained glass windows and create that, which is quite marvelous, right? Because it's alive it's moving, and it's interactive with the universe. Right? Our sun is one of our points of orientation to the whole universe. And there it is in living color. So we got a dragon moving across the balcony. Boy, if that doesn't make you feel empowered, what does, huh? So, how nice. All right. There we go. In the winter, the dragons move to Florida, maybe, or San Diego. I'm not sure. So they kind of go away around September. But they come back every year. All right. So, if everyone would turn, please, to page 83, Basha Sanya. Now, we did something at Gold Coast on Saturday nights where I lectured that I think is a good custom. It's a way to kind of enliven sutra lectures. Not that sutra lectures need livening up, but it's a custom that began when Master Hua turned over the delegations to us, to the second generation. We first started in 83, and then 85, and then 93, and Shifu went a few more times to Asia, but we, the younger generation, started taking our own trips out with his invisible guidance and presence. And one of the things that we did was we took the Buddhist songs that exist in our yellow book, our Huang Si, the Kesongban, our yellow breviary. No, it's not a breviary. It's a missal. Is it a missal? It's the ceremony book. And there are songs in the back. Of course, it's full of liturgy, right? It's full of praises and ceremonies and sutras and mantras and Buddha's names and Bodhisattva's names. But it also has songs, guqu in Chinese. And those songs, when we sang them on our delegations, we would open our delegation in Taichung and Kaohsiung and Hualien and everywhere we went in Taipei, and then in Jilunpo and then Yibao and then Penang, Bingcheng. We would start our lecture series. People would wait for Master Hua to show up, and of course he wouldn't because he wasn't there, and we came out and they went, okay, well, it's the second team. You know, we wanted the varsity, but we'll take the second team. What can you show us? And we would start out by saying, okay, everybody together. The Dharma wheel is turning round, the lion roars. Then we would go, Da Fang Guang Ming Zhuang Fa Lun, Shi Zi Hou Sheng Wan Shi. Then we would go, Jin Xu Kong Fo Xing, which doesn't have a good English version. The translation doesn't make it yet. It's too wordy. But we would do the Dharma wheel. We would do the Jinshu Kung, which is the Dharma Realm Buddhist University alma mater. And then, if people were still not behaving themselves, we would punish them by singing, I'm really lucky to study Buddhism. And by the time that song done, everyone's like, okay, we're ready to listen. Please speak Dharma, Please stop. We'll be good, We want to hear the Dharma. So we would get everybody to sing. And by the end of the tour, people knew the songs, and we were ready to do the Dharma wheel as a round. And that's a treat, because the Zhuan Fa Lun, that song, can be done in 2 parts, 3 parts, and even in 4 parts, if you got strong voices. You have to have people who know it, and Jin Chuan, you can do it, right? Fa Lun. That's right. Yeah. It takes a strong voice to be able to hold it without losing it when the second part starts and the third part starts, right? You've all done row, row, row your boat, right? Rounds. So it's not David rounds. It's musical rounds. David's musical, but it's not that David. It's not that rounds. So it's really quite nice. And we did it at Gold Coast. We did standard. We did the Dharma wheel. We did the Jinshu Kong. And we did I'm Really Lucky. And people thought that was the best part of the lecture, actually, sadly, that the lecture couldn't come up to the feeling generated by singing together. By golly, it's a good thing to do. When it's songs with real Dharma content, with Shifu's, the quality of those songs is what? Master Hua wrote every one of them. Those are Shifu songs. And he had help with Liu Jiseng wrote the melody to Jin Shu Kong, to Zhuan Fa Lun. Lani Heng Yin wrote the melody to Jin Shu Kong, to I'm Really Lucky, which Shifu wrote in English, right? And the alma mater, I don't know who wrote the melody, but that's Master Hua's spirit in song. And so we come off the highway, right? Some of us walk through the neighborhood, but we travel many roads to get to this room, the Buddha Hall of the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery, and there's a lot of dust involved on the road, on the highway, in our minds. And we come in, and some of us have been doing the ceremony. So if we've been doing the Avatamsaka Sutra, or the 88 Buddhas, and then the Mengshan ceremony, and the Buddha's name, of course, we're already still, and the dust has been dealt with, transformed. But if we come in right off the highway, all our senses are whirling, right? And we're all in different places. So if we just start out talking, sometimes it takes, an hour to settle. But if we all allow Master Hua's musical insight to come through our mouths and our minds and our eyes and our ears, then the dust settles quicker. It's a good thing to do. So I'm going to suggest maybe when we get to the 8th ground coming up soon, we might start with some of those songs for fun. Makes a difference. It helps us. The sutras were lectured from a place of samadhi, of ding li. And if we can hear them from a place of samadhi, they go in deeper. They stay with us. And Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, we're still chewing on the nourishment that comes from these texts. So it's good to hear them deeper and deeper. Okie dokie. Comments, questions, requests for, did we forget any of the songs? There's also, Guan Yin's praise. Bodhisattva Guan Shi Yin, Restore Bodhisattva. Those both take you in a very different place. They're not written by Master Hua, they're traditional, but in English. And the Restore song is really martial. It really, Namo, Restore, great God vows and compassion, Bodhisattva of the dark and dismal realms. It's really like a Jet Li kind of, Shaolin monk kind of energy. And the Guan Yin is really nice. It's Bodhisattva Guan Shi Yin. It's a different place. It's very compassionate. But those three in particular are Master Hua's pen. Put those on paper, so they're fun to sing. And those of you who have more experience with the Mahayana tradition in China will understand that we're not singing San Bao Ge. That doesn't matter to anybody. Nobody knows the condition. I won't even bring it up. It's good by its absence, It's kind of like you notice that we don't talk politics in this room on Saturday night. It's a politics-free zone. And the absence of politics is a very good thing all by itself. So we also don't sing the San Bao Ge anymore. Nothing wrong with the San Bao Ge. It's lovely, but its time is over. And it's time to replace it with songs for the 21st century, the Dharma realm in the West. Page 82 and 83, everybody. And in the Chinese, we're looking at Fang Bian Hui Xing Gong De Ju. Fang Bian Hui Heng. That should be Heng Gong De Ju. Full of merit from cultivating skillful wisdom. Verse number 3. Okay, y'all found it? Y'all got it? Here we go. Okay, one moment, one more comment. When I was physically in Queensland, and you all were here or online, there was the gap in time between, it's called latency, the fact that those tubes of the internet were carrying my image and voice all the way from up over to down under. And so I would go, Fan Bian Hui Heng Gong De Ju, and then I would wait, and I would hear, if you had the mic on, And if I did it at my normal speed, it got out of sync. And it was, you would hear me go again and you hadn't. So we tried doing it in unison. Because when doing it in unison, there's that same latency, but more or less where you don't hear me because you're saying it yourself. So it was better. But now I'm back, and there's no latency, no gap, unless you're in another dimension somewhere and listening through your alien apparatus. Probably not. So let's try the call and response. Call and response has power. Ready? I'll give you the line. 方便慧恒功德具. Your turn. 一切世间无能了，供养多佛心意明，如以妙宝庄严经。Okay, over to the English. Let's keep it going, the call and response. Let's see how it works. Full of merit from cultivating skillful wisdom that nobody in the world can match. He serves many Buddhas as his heart grows brighter. The way gemstones adorn solid gold jewelry. Okay, that's the first of tonight's verses, and it's the first of the last four. All right? What are we talking about? We're talking about a Bodhisattva who is on the seventh ground. And it's a praise. This is praising his or her qualities. What does it say? 方便慧恒功德具. Ju, complete, replete, full, can't be added to. Perfected, made perfect. What? 功德. We're going backwards, right? Ju is the last word in the first line. 功德 defines it, modifies it. What is it? Merit, 功, that's the result of actions that you do, and de, virtue, which is the result of the cultivation you do in uncovering what's covering your nature, pulling the covers off your nature. So, replete in that stuff. Punya in Sanskrit, right? You're full of punya. You can't add any more. It's full, complete. Well done, right? Okay, that's only the first three characters out of 7. So, heng, in this case, also read xing, but in this case, heng, practices actual activities that you do in the Dharma. Meditation is a practice. Recitation is a practice. Bowing is a practice. Making offerings with generosity and an open heart is a practice. Those are heng. Okay? So, heng practices merit and virtue. Complete. So the merit and virtue of practices is complete. Hui, wisdom practices, merit and virtue is complete. So what are we doing? We're modifying the modifiers. Right? We're piling up the modifiers. Okay, so he is replete, she is replete, full of the merit and the virtue of the practices of wisdom. Fang bian. That's a binom. It's a 2-word word in English. 2 Chinese words to make one idiomatic concept in English, which is what? Expedient. Upaya in Sanskrit. Upaya, this is what we've been studying in the 7th ground. The Bodhisattva who wants to get something done, and he's got lots of ways to do it. So the upaya, the expedients, are the ways you get it done. How do you get it done? Let's see. You show me your skill. Right? In some ways are better than others. The Bodhisattva on the 7th ground has been especially studying all the ways to accomplish what he wants to accomplish, which is what? Waking people up. That's what he does best. And boy, has he got ways to do it. So, writing songs in English, Master Hua knew that our culture, in particularly somehow America, Boy, what blessings we have. We have incredible musical blessings in America. And I won't digress down this road right this minute because this would be, we could stop the lecture now and just, go here, because why? Look at, for example, jazz. You know where jazz is like hotter than anywhere else right now? Places like the Czech Republic, Sweden, Denmark. Europe picked up American jazz, and there are lots of African American black musicians who in America kind of had to struggle to get any recognition, and sometimes would go through the colored entrance but then wind up on stage and honored with their music and then told to use another drinking fountain. They went to Europe, and the Europeans are like, please play your sacred music for us. They were treated with respect. And so jazz is one of America's cultural exports. Like I say, I'm not going to go here. But think about that. Think about musical comedies, Broadway musicals, America's creation. What about folk music? Well, every country has folk music, but American folk music just had this amazing... What about blues music? This entire genre, right? Just people heard it and said, we want that. We need that. That makes us better. That heals my heart when I hear that, right? What about, and don't laugh, hip-hop, right? Hip-hop music is an American cultural export that changed the world. Started basically in New York and Philadelphia and traveled around, and simultaneously in LA and Chicago and Oakland. Oakland's hip-hop exports, incredible. Now, have you ever heard like Filipino hip-hop, Tagalog hip-hop? Have you heard Mandarin hip-hop? You heard French hip? Oh my God. On and on and on. And it's real. America has musical blessings. Somehow our gift of music has changed the world. Of course, Mexico has theirs. Canada, yeah, Canadian folk singers. Ian and Sylvia, right? Gordon Lightfoot, right? Oh, on and on. So that's our gift. That's one of our blessings. And people hear it and they go, thank you, America. Just like our movies. Hollywood has transformed the world. But our music is something else. That is what? That's a upaya, if the Bodhisattva knows how to do it. For example, Chin Shi Kong, right? I'm really lucky, the Dharma wheel. Master Hua was a songwriter. He's no doubt. We have a volume that collected every song that he wrote, and it's considerable. Some in English, astonishing. So, okay, expedient, wisdoms, practices, merit, and virtue replete. All right? What is it? Praising the Bodhisattva. He's got that. Next line. 一切世间无能了. Verb, 了, end, finish, put an end to, make stop, right? Can't stop, can't end. 能, able to, 无能, not able to, 了. Match, maybe not the best translation. Can't stop, can't make cease. 一切世间, world, all. So all those beings in the world, none of them are able to liao the perfect merit and virtue of his wise, expedient practices. In other words, what is it? Praise. Bodhisattva's got a lot of it. Nobody else can match it, can't stop it, can't compete with it, can't put it down, right? Liao could be put it down in contemporary street English. Nobody can put it down. 供养多佛心意明. I really like this line because the translation in English has an entirely different translation that would be equally okay, and it's really different. Chinese has that amazing quality you know? And the sutras do too, that sometimes you have multiple translations, all of which are like okay, and they're different. So you can, it's kind of like, oh, this dish is slightly salty, taste it again, it's slightly sour, taste it again, it's slightly bitter, taste it again, it's slightly sweet, taste it again, it's kind of bland, same food, different taste, same kind of, wouldn't that be amazing, right? What would it be? Khichdi. Probably khichdi is one of the few, or oatmeal, depending on what you put on it, Xifan. Is it 咸的还是甜的? Xifan. Okay, here we go. It's 供养多佛. He, she makes offerings, is generous in giving to many Buddhas. Right? Okay, 供养多佛. Makes offerings to, is generous with lots of different Buddhas. Xin Yiming, mind increases light. All right? So, look at the English. It's the key to the alternate versions is the word as. So, in other words, the one that's expressed here is the brighter the Bodhisattva's heart grows, the more Buddhas he or she seeks out and makes offerings to. Right? So, all right, he knows more, so he does it more. That's the idea. The Bodhisattva's mind is brighter. So in other words, he's got more wisdom, and what does he do when he has more wisdom? He says, I better go make more offerings to Buddhas. Okay, that's one, right? What's the other one? What's the other way to interpret this? Anybody see it? Change one word. Or you could make two words. Dana, but that's the same. That wouldn't make it different. You're on it, but Kai, was that your hand in the air, or were you scratching your head? You're scratching your head, okay. Just asking. Right. Jinchuan. Okay, think cause and effect, or cause and result. That's the key here. Number one interpretation of this line is the way it's here. As the Bodhisattva's heart grows brighter, he makes offerings to more Buddhas. Yes. Then. Put a when in front of he, and then change as to then. Or you could put because. Because he makes offerings to Buddhas, his heart grows brighter. So what does that mean? You want more wisdom? Make more offerings. It's not that because the Bodhisattva's heart he's got more wisdom. It could be. I mean, it's equally valid. Because the Bodhisattva is wiser, he goes out and, I see, I really need to go make offerings to Buddhas. That's a perfectly fine way to do it. But what's interesting is it could be every time the Bodhisattva goes and puts flowers in front of the Buddha or fruit in front of the Buddha or builds a monastery for the Buddhas, gets wiser. So, you want to be wiser? You want more light in your mind? Go make more offerings. That's another way to see. Same sentence in Chinese, but it's totally, which comes first, right? And both are good. So, give an example. Ulambana. Right? We just kind of went through Ulambana in September. And what's Ulambana? It's like Madhyayana, mind grows brighter. Right? He woke up, and his spiritual abilities, his psychic powers started to function. So what did he do? He thought, wow, I got to go find my mom to say thank you. And that set in motion the whole thing. He went to find his mom, and guess what he found? Oops. Mom was suffering in the hells as a ghost with lots of karma to pay back. Miserable. In that case, it was better to be ignorant, right? But as soon as he sees what's going on, as soon as you open your tianyan, people think, it'd be so cool. His heavenly eye is open, this realtor, this stockbroker. Oh yeah? If your heavenly eye is open, you can see what's going on in the hells, man. Don't give me that. I totally don't believe that these phonies say, oh, Tanya and Kyla, you should come buy my stock advice, Now, if you can see what's going on in the hills, you vomit. How many of us can see the result of an auto accident on the highway when somebody comes through the windshield? Have you had that experience? It's like it's seared, you can't unsee it, right? As skin gets flayed off their face because they didn't have their seatbelt on. You look at that and you go, but compared to the hells that your heavenly eye lets you see, that's nothing. They're beings who, their entire existence is dying in the most painful way, and then the clever breezes blow them back to life so they can do it again and again and again. In the hells, beings exclusively die in the most horrific ways. If your heavenly eye is open, you see it in Technicolor. It's on every cable channel. Earth-store Bodhisattva is incredibly awesome because he lives there and sees it all and doesn't move. And he goes, yeah, you had that coming, Oh my. Can you imagine what they do to baby male chicks? Factory farming? We kind of coast along, I think eggs are okay. I kind of like barbecue chicken. Tastes like chicken. Oh man. If it's a boy chick, what's the most efficient way to deal with it? They don't want a lot of roosters. What do? They push them living into a grinder. If you got a garburator in your kitchen sink, and by the way, ours is broken. Any plumbers who want to help us out with our incinerator, push the button, nothing happens. So that's a little bit of Panya in there, but we need some help. Okay, what if somebody said, Dharma Masters, it's Easter. Somebody gave us a bunch of chickens. We don't know what to do with them. Here, would you please raise them in the monastery? And we go, sure, thanks. Chickens. The chickens go, cheep, cheep, cheep. Right? That's what they do to baby chickens. They push them into a grinder alive. They're this big, little beautiful fuzzballs. Down they go. Turn them into chicken paste. Chick paste. Why? Cost-cutting strategy. Too expensive to raise them. People don't want roosters. They want hens. Roosters don't lay eggs. You imagine? Okay, well, Earth-store Bodhisattva gets the results of that. The people who figured that's the best thing to do with a lot of living beings. The beautiful, you ever deal with a chicken? I deal with turkeys, not with chickens, but turkeys. Turkeys have this huge personality and relationships. And I was visited by 3 and 4 wild bush turkeys every day up to 5 days ago before I came. And the personality of a turkey is something you deal with. They're incredibly sensitive, intelligent, discerning, decision-making, relational animals. You just watch them interact with each other and with me, and it's like, yeah, immediately you know this is a sentient being who's making decisions and has values and has feelings and emotions and fears and happiness and, my goodness, and communication skills. And it's not a thing. It's a living being. And if you cruelly deprive it of its life, here's a result. You've made a ripple, right? So I'm not going to riff on it. You get the point. But who would be able to watch the karma, the retribution of somebody who ground up a turkey just because it was more efficient to do that way? The result is maybe you lose your skin a lot. Maybe you lose your bones a lot. That would be a fitting, What does Earth-store Bodhisattva say as he sees these beings being pulverized and then come back to life and he goes, boy, I sure hope you don't do that again. See? Right? So, just to say, when you hear people brag about their Tianyan Tong, their psychic ability, you can say, maybe not. Maybe not. So, skeptical. Okay, so Xin Yi Ming, right? This Bodhisattva's mind grows in light because, why? Key, and this is a big surprising part of the Avatamsaka Sutra, how much it talks about making offerings to Buddhas. I totally had no clue that this was something that was appropriate to do. There was this funny practice at Gold Mountain Monastery. It was kind of an unspoken, and that because it was unspoken probably means it was maybe not real, but it was when you left home, you made an offering to Shifu. Not everybody did, and it wasn't even, nobody told me, but it was kind of a thought. And I was so out of this loop, I was so stingy maybe by nature and didn't get it, that everything I tried to offer to Master Hua was flawed. He didn't accept anything that I wanted to offer to him. And because I remember the first time somebody said, it's good to, Sangha, that food you come over here and eat on Saturday when you're over here like for the Dharma assembly and translating, where do you think that food comes from? Well, it's here, it's in the kitchen. Where was it? Who put it in the kitchen? I don't know. Lay people did. What did you bring today? Myself? My translation abilities? No, you bring some food, man. So what did I do? I went back and thought, oh, I should remember that, yeah. So I was cooking for myself in my one-room studio apartment in the Berkeley Hills. So I opened the refrigerator, and sure enough, I had a big squash, half. I already cut it in half, and the last half. So, here, I'll take this. So I show up with half of a squash. I'd already eaten half of it, right? Put it down on the counter, and it was Dharma Master Hong Kong. And Hong Kong said, come here. You're almost there. You're almost there. You should give it a whole squash, fresh, not one that you've already chewed on. It's not quite right. It was, oh, really? So that I totally didn't understand the rights and the wrongs. And he was kind enough to kind of try to get me to understand that it's nice to go out and take something, flowers, something beautiful, or look at, incense and fruit. And notice, this is something I think really important to point out, that the way the Buddha set up offerings to the Buddha, right, Gongyang Dofo, is it's not that rich people make better offerings. How important is that? So important. The story of the widow's mite, which is a favorite biblical story, that the rich man offers cartloads full of lamp oil, just enough lamp oil to light up hundreds of lamps. And the poor widow comes in, and she offers up like a cup of oil. And the Buddha, when the rich man comes in with his cartloads, snaps his finger, and they keep on bringing it in, stacking up, bring them over here, a little more, put it up. The Buddha goes, merit and virtue, infinite merit and virtue. And the old lady shuffles in with her cup and sets it on the altar, and the Buddha invites her to come and have lunch, and asks her how about her children and her grandchildren. And, why ignore the rich man? Sure, World Honor One. And he said, because for the rich man, it was nothing. He just wrote it off. Probably it was a tax dodge. He probably asked for a receipt, and he got a benefit from it. That was all her money. She used her last 5 coppers to buy that cup of oil. So comparatively speaking, hers was the bigger sacrifice. The disciples go, oh, I see, that's a really good offering. So what did the Buddha advise people to make offerings of? What did the sutra, this very text, advise us to make offerings of? Look at, here's a good primer, go to chapter 40. This is chapter 21, right? Go to the Samantabhadra's Practices and Vows chapter. Pushin Heng Yenpin. Vow number 3. Guangxiu Gongyang, right? Extensive offerings. How to cultivate extensive offerings. What does it say? It says, the Bodhisattva makes offerings of clothes, or cloth for clothes, food, right? Up here, I can't see, my neck doesn't turn, but it's probably melons and apples, right? And incense, multiple kinds, lamps, there they are, light bulbs in our case, candles, we don't do candles, we do electric because it's a wooden building. And then it goes on and it says how big the wick of the oil lamp is, big as Mount Sumeru, how deep the oil of the oil lamp is. It's as deep as the fragrant water, oceans of fragrant water. And goes on to say what else? It's appropriate to make offerings of flowers, beautiful flowers. Now, all of those things, the food and water, right? Bowls of water, clear and perfect. All of those things came from nature. And anybody can offer them. I really like that point, that the Buddha didn't favor wealthy people. In fact, he went the other way. He completely turned on its head India's social system, which divided people into 4 castes, which you didn't transcend. You didn't jump out of being a Harijan, a child of God, known as a scavenger. You didn't change that. And if you were a Brahmin, you were a Brahmin forever and forever and forever, according to the Vedas, according to the Hindu system of belief. And the Buddha said, no, I don't see that as significant. That's not important. That's all external. The Buddha nature is not an untouchable Buddha nature or a Brahman Buddha nature. The Buddha nature transcends all those external differences. I'm looking at the nature. Right? Remember, I was there when this woman came in and said, oh, Shifu, my daughter wants to get married. Would you look at her husband and 帮我们看相? 可不可以结婚? You know, Shifu, would you please look at my daughter's intended fiance's appearance? Is he a good match for her? 看相. She wanted Shifu to do physiognomy reading. And Shifu said, 我不看相. And her face fell. You know, Shifu said, I don't do physiognomy. And Shifu said, 我看性. I look at the nature, he said. And she's like, oh. She was so happy because she had good roots. She realized this teacher is not simple, right? So, what are the 4 castes based on? The nature? No. Based on your surname, based on your birthplace. And from that, they give you work to do. The Harijans, the scavengers, pick up excrement with their hands and put it in baskets and carry it away. Because why? No plumbing. That was one of the jobs of the untouchables, is going to the homes of the wealthy or even public places and pick out the excrement from the toilet, put it in a basket, put it on their heads, and carry it away and dump it. And they would do that their whole lives, you know. So the Buddha said, no, that's not important. Just take a bath and come on. We'll shave your head, put on a robe, you cultivate, you become a Buddha. So, okay. 供养多佛心一明. So by making offerings to the Buddha from your heart, your mind becomes brighter. Now, important to say, and this is the next step into it, that very same, it's interesting how it happens, that very same chapter, in chapter 40, vow number 3, extensive offerings, it says, suddenly, it gives this whole line of things you offer. The lamps, the candles, the medicine, the bedding, the food, the water, flowers, the lights. You know, sometimes in the sutra it says you can give gardens, you can give trees, you can give monasteries, pagodas, you know. Then suddenly it changes and it says, of all the many offerings, the offering of Dharma is the highest kind. And it shifts. One paragraph talks about stuff you can give. Then it shifts and it goes, however, there's a higher kind of offering. and that's the offering of Dharma. 主供养中法供养最. All the kinds of offerings you can give, offering of Dharma is the highest kind. And then it explains what that means. This is chapter 40. We got it. We've lectured it right here. And it says, what is the giving of offering? The offering of Dharma. Well, the offering of Dharma, number one, is 以如法修行, cultivating the way it's taught. In other words, following your teacher's instructions. That's the highest kind of offerings. Then it goes on to say, taking living beings across is the highest of offerings, right? Never turning away from your Bodhi resolve. Never thinking you're not going to be a Buddha. That's the highest kind of offering. So an absence of something is the highest kind of offering. The absence of failing to make the Bodhi resolve is the highest kind of offering. So it's like, whoa, that's really interesting, right? Unceasingly cultivating merit and virtue is Fa Gongyang, right? It's the offering of Dharma. So we do one every time we meet here, which is what? Transferring merit. What do we do when we transfer merit? We take something that could be ours, which is what we cultivate. We say, I'm going to give it all away. That's the highest kind of Dharma giving. Okay, got it. So that's another level deeper. Why is it that way? Why is that the best? The stuff you give, even monasteries, go away. Right? Master Empty Cloud rebuilt monasteries that had been standing in the Tang Dynasty and got buried. Sometimes they had to excavate because the monastery was under the ground. It had been so much ignored and forgotten. But he rebuilt them. But the merit that you get from giving with your mind, from cultivating, never goes away. Because you're removing the coverings of your nature, and guess what? Xin Yi Ming. Your mind grows in brightness. So the more you give, the more light you have. And you give to the Buddhas. Okay? That's a really neat line. Right? Gongyang Dofo Xin Yi Ming. There's a huge teaching right there. Okay. Ru Yi Miao Bao Zhuang Yan Jin. Okay, check this out. Ru is like using wondrous gems to adorn gold. I found it last week in Gold Coast. I was digging through my backup hard drive and looking for my oldest photographs. Sure enough, I have photographs on my hard drive that go back to 2009, I think. And is that right? On that particular hard drive, 2009. And it was, is that right? No, I take it back. The trip to Europe before 2009 was 97, correct. And it was 1997 that I had photos from. And what was it? We had gone to we'd gone to a museum in Florence, Firenze, in Italy. We'd gone to this incredible museum that had crown jewels. And the crown jewels they used to belong to a king or a queen. And there were crowns. And I had my camera, and I took pictures of crowns that used to sit on the head of European royalty. And I think I mentioned this the other day. When you see 24-karat gold that has been fashioned into stuff that kings and queens and I might add popes and others use, it's kind of rough. It's not like fine, because why? Gold is soft. And when you hammer it, it's not perfectly smooth. It's a genuinely malleable, moving element, right? Gold. And so here were these crowns, and stuck into the crown were rubies and sapphires and topazes and amethysts and turquoise. And I have to say, these particular crowns I was looking at the Uffizi Palace Museum in Florence, were coarse and gaudy. somebody didn't have any good taste. They were just out to make the crown as flashy as possible. So they were just stuck in the round and all over. It was dripping with, it was really, how we say, 珠宝庄严, 中宝庄严. It was adorned with jewels in the way our Chinglish translates it. Somebody had just crammed these precious, incredibly valuable stones onto the golden crown, and the crown was put on the head of the royal head who wore the crown. So amazing when I looked at it, because it was priceless and marvelous and ugly. Crude, ugly. I'm not going to make comments about whose head it would go on. Orange head with, golden medals put around. Do you see him curtsy today? There's a no, it's not. Zip my lip. So, the way gemstones adorn solid gold jewelry. Now, of course, when it's done well, it's magnificent. And there's how many, spectacular crowns adorned with jewels are there? Well, probably, maybe a dozen in the world. How many monarchs' heads wore them? Not many, So that's why they're so valuable. And gemstones if it was just gold, that's one thing, but when you put tastefully, elegantly rubies and sapphires, rubies are brilliantly red, and sapphires are dark, flashing light. Sapphires, star sapphire. My father had a star sapphire ring. It was one of his prides and joys, and I would look at it and wait for the star to blink out. There's one, if you looked at it just right, you could see this point of light coming out of the sapphire. Very nice. So, the way gemstones adorn solid gold jewelry. So, what's that like? That's the way the Bodhisattva's wisdom shines as his mind grows brighter, as he serves many Buddhas, because of his expedient wisdom that he cultivates. Okay, that's our verse. Next verse. 此地菩萨智最明如日曙光皆爱水，又作自在田中主，化导春生修正智. This ground's Bodhisattva's wisdom shines the brightest, the way the sunlight dries up the mud. He serves as Lord of the self-mastery heaven, where he guides living beings to cultivate real wisdom. Okay, what is it? It's praise, again. We're getting close to the end. It's summarizing the text, right? These are the repetitive verses. So we've encountered this stuff before. This is the repeat of it. And it says, this Bodhisattva's wisdom is really bright because of what he does, or what she does. And what he does is he uses expedient skills, all kinds of different ways to teach living beings, right? And the more he does that, the brighter his wisdom gets. And understand, there's a process here. There's some gongfu here. There's definitely something happening here, which is what? How does the Bodhisattva take living beings across? Well, one big way is he transfers merit and virtue. He takes the light and the good stuff from him and invests it in their account. Where does his gongde, his merit and virtue, come from? From his cultivation. So, how does the Bodhisattva know how to cultivate? He goes to where the Buddhas are speaking Dharma and he takes notes. He records on his phone with his audio recorder. He memorizes it. He does whatever it takes. This sutra describes Bodhisattvas are always going to Buddha's lectures, Buddha's assemblies. They're learning how to cultivate. They put the cultivation into practice. They get the merit and virtue. They transfer it away, and living beings go, oh, I really like what he said. That makes a lot of sense. I think I'll do just the way they explained it. Crossed one over. I can go to the next living being. Right? That's the process. Learning to cultivate, cultivating, giving away the merit and virtue, going to the next assembly to learn another one of the 84,000 methods. It's a process of cultivation, creating merit and virtue, which you share. And the more you share, the more you can. The more you transfer merit, the more that muscle, that ability grows in us. People will, verify When they first kind of came around and heard about transference, it was, I kind of get it. Petitionary prayer in Catholicism and Tikkun Olam in Judaism. But boy, if you do it, and then you read the 10 Transferences chapter, which we do in Ukiah, City of 10,000 Buddhas, it's like, whoa, it's precise. It's skillful. It's magnificent. It's the way the Bodhisattva transfers is so elegant and focused and generous. It just opens your heart just to listen to it. So that's the process. It's ongoing. It's not that the Bodhisattva does it once and it's over. The more he gives, the more he can. The more he realizes he has to cultivate. The more he cultivates, the more he can. So there's lots of steps here. Okay, it's just the way the sun dries up the mud. Here in California, when it rains, the sun comes out and the water goes away, right? You can see that happen in a matter of hours. So the image is clear, right? And he is a Zizai Tian Zhu, Zizai Tian Wang. This is desire realm heaven number 5, right? The Nirmanarati heaven, right? It's not the 6th one. The 6th is the heaven where Mara, where the head of the demons lives. And this Bodhisattva is, in his form, comes back into the desire realm where he cultivates. He guides living beings to cultivate real wisdom from that expedient rebirth. Okay? Questions, comments? Yes, you want.
In Chinese, there's I shui there. Why our English translation choose the mod to represent the I shui?
Oh, how would you translate I shui?
I know, because I shui symbolizes desire, emotion, attachment.
Mud.
Mud.
It works. I didn't want to translate it as love juice. That doesn't work, right? No. Love water. It's like, stop. Nope. Don't like that one. So how about mud? Mud kind of, covers the ground. Yuck, yuck, so to speak. So, pun intended. So mud is fine. If you can come up with a better one, that's why this is a work in progress. Sometimes you just avoid the train wrecks coming at you, and that's a train wreck if you translate it wrong. Okay? Yeah, Johan? What's that? Okay, good. Yeah, you can ponder. Well, so it's yeah. Okay, the way the sunlight dries up desire doesn't work. You got an idiom. Yeah, but it's not an idiom here. It's right up front. It's a natural image, right? Sun drying up water. The problem is I. So, so I went to the middle way, right? You can see there are some problems if you do it word for word literally. So, okay. Next, 若以勇猛精勤力，或多三昧见多佛，百千亿数哪有他，愿力自在复过世. When one is courageous and filled with vigor and strength, more samadhis arise and more Buddhas appear. By the hundreds of millions of Nayutas, one's self-mastery and vow power surpass even this. What is this? Boilerplate. We run into this in every ground. This is just progressively bigger and more as it talks about the Bodhisattva's increasing skill. They're getting better and better at what they do. Okay? Courageous, filled with strength and vigor, you get more samadhis, you see more Buddhas. Ground number 1, he saw, the Buddha. Now we're here in the 7th, and he saw Nayutas, countless numbers of Buddhas. And his self-mastery and vow power surpass this if the Bodhisattva chooses to use vows. And that's an interesting condition there, because some Bodhisattvas go through these 10 grounds and do it differently than others. We're going to find out in the 8th ground what that's about. There's a crossroads ahead. Turn to page, please, 84. Last verse in the seventh ground. 此是菩萨远行地，方便智慧清净道，一切世间天即人，声闻独觉无能知。This has been the Bodhisattva's ground of distant travel, the immaculate path of expedient wisdom, known by no humans or devas, and unknown to voice hearers and solitary Buddhas. Okay, you'll recall at the beginning of the 10 Grounds chapter the argument. It's actual argument. The Buddha had to solve it. There was an argument going on. And the argument came about between two bodhisattvas. The bodhisattva whose name was Chetoye, moon of liberation or liberated moon, lunar liberation, bodhisattva, asked another bodhisattva to please explain the 10 grounds. The other bodhisattva's name was Vajra Treasury, treasury of adamantine, Vajra. His job was to explain the 10 grounds. The Buddha kind of deputized him to do it, gave him his blessings. And he didn't. He refused. He just stayed silent. You know, the spotlights were on, the microphone was hot, and he didn't say anything. He just stood there. So Muna Liberation, Bodhisattva, repeated his request. Come on, please do it. And silent, right? And then he did it a third time. And he says, these people have wisdom. They're deeply cultivated. They're really good. They're ready for your teaching. Teach already. And he said, nope. He said, too lofty. What are the 10 grounds dharmas like? They're like the tracks of a bird in space. The bird flies by. Do you see anything in the air after he's gone? That's the 10 grounds. That's subtle. I'm afraid they'll slander it, he said. They're not going to get it. I'm afraid they're going to go, it's a lot of baloney, or something like that. It's not worth studying, right? Something like that. He said, we don't want that to happen. That won't help them at all. So the best thing, don't say anything. So Muna Liberation Bodhisattva tries again. And he says, look, they're all here. They're all ready. These are awesome cultivators. Don't look lightly upon them. Okay, at that point, the Buddha speaks up, says, it's okay, go ahead, essentially, right? And at that point, Vajra Treasury doesn't dare say, no, I don't think so, Buddha. You know, that would be a bold bodhisattva to refuse the Buddha's direct instruction. So that's when the chapter started to flow. Okay, so we've come two-thirds of the way through, right? And this has been the Bodhisattva's ground of distant travel, the immaculate path of expedient wisdom. But guess what? Humans can't get there. Devas can't get there. What are called the two vehicles. People who leave samsara to nirvana and don't learn expedient wisdom. They're not into teaching others. That's not to look down on them, just to say their cup has a lid on it. Their garbage can has a distinct capacity, how many liters they can't hold anymore. Bodhisattvas are learning like crazy. Why? Because they got all these living beings to teach, and they don't know how yet. They meet all these living beings who don't want to learn. So they got to cross them over. They go back to the Buddha to study more. How do they take this one across? What language can I use to teach so that they'll get it? You know, they're going to start studying Spanish, right? Because Hispanic surname neighbors are in the majority in our state of California. Learning Spanish would be very, very useful if you were speaking Dharma in California. Never mind, Mexico and Spain and Latin America, etc. So, bodhisattvas constantly learn. They don't stop because they've got job ahead. And they build their samadhi because they might be in the hells, trying to hold it together in the face of that suffering so that they can pull them out as they can. So, yeah, that's what moon liberation and Vajra treasuries argument was about these points of view. Here it says clearly, humans, devas, and those who entered samadhi first and stopped learning, basically stopped, won't hear these dharmas. Because what are the bodhisattvas here doing? They're bowing to the Buddhas and making all kinds of offerings. And then they're giving it all away. They are busy giving. Very cool. Comments, questions? How are we doing? It's tough, I know. We've had long days. Okay, seventh ground. This week I'll be working on the eighth ground, so we could have a couple pages ready to go next week. And it just occurred to me, it'd be fun to contemplate our schedule here at the Berkeley Monastery. Now I'm back. How many folks online? Do we have a head count yet? 28. You all came tonight instead of watching at home on your computer. Last week we had more people, 2 weeks ago, more people in person at Gold Coast than we had in the Buddha Hall. Because you're looking at my screen, I'm looking at you all. I'm looking at your seat where you're not sitting. No, I understand. I mean, if you're watching a screen here, why not watch your screen at home, right? Well, this is not the same as your home. This is nicer. So, more Buddhas here. So, there may be lots of Buddhas in your home, but there's still more Buddhas here. I'd be interested to know how many people are at Gold Coast. I'm sure not 10, right? Why? Because, the monk's not there lecturing. That's how it goes. But we're all learning, and I was really, really grateful that Dharma Master Jinpo and Dharma Master Jinchuan, with 3 minutes notice, sat right here and turned the Dharma wheel. That was great. So, a lot of our regularly scheduled events are over for the summer, but look at what's going on. Yesterday was Friday here in California. It was the commencement of Dharma Realm Buddhist University. The commencement is strange because it's the end. Commence means to begin, right? You could talk about that. People do. But commencement means graduation. So it was graduating class, and we had some graduates who were sitting among us, We had 2 of them here. And some of us were sitting there with mortarboards on our heads, previous graduates. And that was a grand event. We had Professor Jacob Jerry Needleman give an outstanding talk. And his talk was preceded by 6 talks by students, one of which I'm going to show tonight, Megan. And I've got everybody else's talks. I'm looking at you guys. But I wanted to share some talks, and they're equally wonderful. But I picked out one to share because, number one, it's short. Megan's talk was the shortest one. And she says some things right from her heart that I think point to Shifu's vision. And it's Megan, and we know her. You can't hide it. You see her on the screen. I wouldn't mention her name otherwise. She wouldn't want me to. She'd be embarrassed. But Megan is an example of the fruition of Master Hua's wish for bringing the Dharma here. And it has to do with sutras. In particular, that's what she brings up. So we'll see that. Okay. I thought that was interesting because today, the 20th of May, right, should be a normal Saturday where we have full schedule of events here at the monastery. But it wasn't because we had a board meeting of Dharma Realm Buddhist University. So I sat here, dozens of people were in Ukiah, at CTDB, and around the state and around the world, joining in online, talking about how to make the university run even better, how to get it accredited, how to pay for it, how to let it be how to advertise it, how to let people find out about it, So all of the infrastructure, intense work to get one day of that university going. And okay, well, so today at lunch, there were two of us here, myself and Dharma Master Jin Chuan was up tying up the results of the university, working right directly hands-on with the infrastructure, right? One of our regular monks, Heng Sure, is not here because why? He is embarked on 108 days of boot camp training in preparation for becoming a bhikshu. He is in the process of ordination. And that's a time-honored method of turning from ordinary human being who is a shramanera, a novice, into a teacher of gods and humans, right? Into a bhikshu who can become an arhat, a bodhisattva. So you won't see him, he's busy there. And so what else? Well, tomorrow is yet another Buddhist birthday celebration. And hallelujah, Tsuji is doing their Oakland celebration. They did their San Jose celebration last week. When is San Francisco? Maybe last week too, but so Far West Bay, South Bay, East Bay is tomorrow. Two of our bhikshus, two of our monks, are going to represent the Bhikshu Sangha, because Tsuji doesn't have monks, in celebrating Buddha's birthday a second time in 2 weeks. That's amazing. And I'm going to a class over here in Berkeley before I turn around and head up to City of 10,000 Buddhists so I can explain the Avatamsaka Sutra, so that, this 10 Transferences chapter, so that the next morning, the next afternoon, at City of 10,000 Buddhas, we can retranslate the Avatamsaka Sutra. So I can get in the car and drive back here so I can collapse because why? I got jet lag. And I'm barely keeping my eyes open. And it's like, okay, who's there now? I don't see any monks. Oh, it's Mr. Yap. Mr. Yap is keeping the door, tight and protecting. Our layman is holding the fort because the monks are all scattered to the winds doing multiple projects on a split-second schedule. Because why? It's a normal May as we bring the Dharma to the West. Good Lord. Jin Chuan. What's that? Oh! And so we... Thank you. All right. So we had our schedule. Okay, let's see. I'll take... Jin Fosher and I are going up to Wampochong. Jin Chuan will be here, but no, he's got to go to Tsuji. Well, okay, so when will he get... He's going to eat there, but I'll come back after my class and eat here before I get in the car and go, oh, that's right. We promised the Thursday night group to do a day-long here in the monastery tomorrow. And who's going to be here to help them, get oriented? Our layman. Because why? Everybody else is gone. So it's like, will you guys hurry up and leave home so we can, give up your hair, let it go. We need help, man. There's too many fires burning. Oh, man. And I got jet lag. I swear. I'm like, So, life is good. Bodhisattvas wear tennis shoes because why? Down the road. Okay. Not complaining, mind you. Master Hua, had more plates spinning than anybody. Let's transfer the merit so we can switch over to the visual. And I've got we're going to listen to one of the talks from yesterday because it's so inspiring. And then we're going to look at some photographs as well. So here's a chance to practice what bodhisattvas do with this dedication of merit. And you do it with your mind, right? You are fully qualified in your skin right now to transfer merit like a Bodhisattva. You don't need any other qualification than a willingness. Of course, the more skillful you get, the further it goes. I got a good analogy for it. What's it like when you become better at transferring? How many times have you gone to your phone, because you have to make an actual phone call, and there's one bar, or maybe no bars? How frustrating to go out of service, right? What's that? That's somebody who hasn't transferred much, or doesn't even want to, wants all the merit for themselves. When you try it at first, you got a bar. Bodhisattvas who do it a lot, 4 bars. They transfer with a strong, full signal. Exactly what it's like. So, send it out there wherever you want it to go. President-elects get gold medals put around their necks, while 24 million people are starving. So, we are in a place of unequal distribution of resources, and what's my share of that? I need to think about that. Here we go. Every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward, may all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, we're going to want the screen down and the projector on. And I'll be right with you. All right, and if we could turn, yeah, good. Okay, lovely. Ready?
So the next student graduating, Megan Sweet.
Okay, hello? Oh, there it goes. Okay, hi. So, I suppose it's only proper to start by quoting a text. So I was reading Nagarjuna's work on the six paramitas, and in the chapter on Sila, there was a quote that really struck something for me about DRBU. And he's making this point that basically, if you practice moral precepts, then you will be able to meet good people. And through meeting good people, you'll be able to develop wisdom. And by developing wisdom, you'll succeed in practicing the six paramitas. And if you succeed in practicing the six paramitas, then you'll gain realization of the Buddha's path. And this struck me because what struck me about it was the importance of meeting good people, and how it's through these connections and relationships that one is able to actually develop their wisdom. And this struck me as so true to describe my experience as a student at DRBU. I think I say sincerely that I've never found a community of people before who are so sincere and so wholesome and so kind and so thoughtful and so dedicated to their purpose. And I feel really grateful for encountering this community and that all I've learned from everyone here. The texts themselves are so wonderful and inspiring, but I think if it weren't for the people here who bring it to life in their minds and their hearts and their actions, then the books would just kind of remain these items on a shelf. I remember actually when I was looking at the DRBU program, I was reviewing the reading list of all the books we would read, and there were so many titles that just like were weird names. I was like, wow, okay. But now actually, 2 years later, these books are not just books, but they're living documents, and they live like not just on the pages, but they actually live in me as far as I've been able to read them and study them and be changed by them. And that's such a tremendous gift, this gift to be given the opportunity to actually make these texts part of my heart. And I think we've all been kind of given that chance. Just this week, there were a few people here related to our WASC accreditation process, and I got the chance to be part of a meeting with them with just the master's students. And we were telling them about our experience in the program, and it was just so amazing getting to sit together in this room, and there was this total outsider, and everyone was just sharing, like, really from their heart how much they had grown and changed. And everyone was really kind of glowing. And so sincere, and it really moved me so deeply to hear each person talk about their inner transformation and how much confidence they had. That was such a common theme, this confidence that they developed in themselves. And I was joking afterwards that I would really love to pretend to be a student just to sit in the room and hear it again, because they're going to be visiting again in the fall. It was just so, I really wish I could have transported all of you into that room, actually, just to hear it. So I just want to say thank you to each person who makes up this community, and for all of you for being my teachers and for being good people and for helping me develop my wisdom and for making me a better person. And I've really been moved and inspired and encouraged by all of you. Thank you.
Okay. I'll just stand here because we're going to use the projector again in a minute. What I liked about Megan's speech in particular was that she hit upon the people. No, that doesn't sound right, does it? She didn't hit on the people. She didn't do that. She mentioned, she emphasized that it was the people and the good friends. And what did she do? She connected it to Nagarjuna's text. That's the idea. Is the wisdom, the principles are in the sutra, but then you put them into practice, and if they're true for you, suddenly there's a connection. And ancient wisdom and your immediate behavior are related. And your steps will go right. So that was one. And then she made the part that I'm sure Master Hua would have loved, saying that at first the texts are weird names, the Mula Madhyamika Karika, and the Asta Shahasrika Prajna Paramita, and Tajir Dulun, and things like that. And then after studying them, they become living documents and part of me, she said. And it's like, there's an education. That's what you go to school for. And the wisdom of sages is with you. And so, how nice, to be able to say that. And then she takes it herself out of it. Notice. She says, to the degree that I understand them, humble. And then she drew the picture of the WASC team, which are total outsiders, she says, people who have no understanding of this being education. Maybe they do, that's selling them short, but they haven't met the way we do it before. And when they saw it and heard it, some people were glowing. So, pretty cool. That's, very satisfying to be on my side of the equation. And it was great. Okay. Any comments, questions? Anybody who was there and saw that wants to share? Ni wang wang wo wo wang wang ni. How did it look from the audience, Alan? Microphone. Wait.
Yeah, by just kind of sitting over there, right, in the Buddha hall, and listen to all those feedbacks, it was just incredible. That really kind of made me wanted to go back to school again. Yeah,
Interesting.
That's just how I feel on the spot. It was just incredible to be a part of it. Yeah.
Nice. Anybody else? Waiting for me to call your name.
It was really cool to have you there, Dharma Master.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next. Okay, so the thing to do is to, enroll, sign up, go through the process. Because one part of 3 Steps, 1 Bow was, entering into a relationship with the Avatamsaka Sutra. And so I know what she's talking about, that process. And I was one too. I'm a student of Master Hua's educational policies and practices and his pedagogy, right? His ways of teaching, and you can too. Okay. Hello. There we go. Oh, not that. I want this. Oops. Some of these are from last year. You saw this in last year. That's a mom. Those are the babies. Gossip. Neighborhood gossip. Oops. Australian breakfast. This is the local landlord. Believe it or not, this is a teenager, not yet mature. That's a cracker in his beak. This is mom. She's mature and she's exhausted trying to raise the teenager. That's an insect. There's two of them. Three generations. The reason the baby showed up is I spent some quality time with an 8-month-old. This is a wallaby taken through a window screen, and it comes out like dream time. That's a very dreamy, kind of mysterious wallaby. He's been fighting. Notice the bites out of his ear. It's right out in my backyard. Oops. I got my eye on you. Notice how his tail is bigger than the rest of his body. The world's largest bat. They're called flying foxes, fruit bats. They nest by the thousands and thousands together. Imagine if you could write that with a Chinese writing brush, with the color in the brush instead of black and white. That looks like a brush stroke, doesn't it? That's an aging kookaburra, an elderly kookaburra. king parrots. They have one family that lives beside our house, and they show up once a day. Very mellow. These are called currawongs, not the brightest light in the shed. Butcher birds, drinking water. This is a mom. She's got a joey in her pouch. Got a baby. Oops. This is Serafina, the local queen of the jungle, queen of the bush. Yeah, she's big. But mellow. Not interested in me at all, as long as I wasn't going to threaten her. Happy to coexist. Unless you're a rodent. If you're a mouse, watch out. This is not a kangaroo, it's a wallaby. And this is the family that lives in our backyard. In a moment, mom reaches over and licks the rainfall off her baby. Quite wonderful. Check your pockets before you put the coat on. You never know what crawled in while your coat was on the bench. Turkeys I was talking about. Camouflage. Notice the blue. This is the butcher bird baby with her brown color. She's not mature yet. That's the mom, black and white, feeding her. Okay. Thanks for letting me share those. Oops. Next is the videos, and I've got most of these creatures in motion, including Seraphina, the python. She's, there we go. I wanted to show everybody Seraphina, the python's movies from when I was over there, but GoToMeeting, our software, doesn't allow videos very well. It doesn't, although it takes a lot of horsepower to make a video work. But let me check. People have various responses to snakes, and I'm one of them. I did not grow up in a place where there were a lot of snakes. We had garter snakes in Ohio. That was garter snakes, an occasional corn snake and things like that. But we didn't have snakes the way, Taiwan does snakes, or the way Australia does snakes. So, snakes are something you absolutely deal with. Oops, now that I've done all this intro, I don't hope I can find them. So my take on snakes was always, snake equals bad, equals scary. And I was observing Australians, Aussies who grew up, their approach to snakes, and it was decidedly not frantic, not upset, not worried. And thought, how did they do that? How did they get so mellow around snakes? And I think the answer is you have to know your snakes. There are venomous snakes in Australia that will kill you when they bite you. They're Eastern browns, they're called. It's the second most venomous snake in the world. And it's not a joke. You get bitten by an Eastern brown, you better find anti-venom quickly or you're in trouble. But there are lots of other snakes in Australia that are considered completely helpful, beneficial, and they want only to be left alone. And pythons are among them. And I told you my joke. This is a last year joke, but it bears repeating because it shows the attitude of Aussies. And we had mice or rats under our kitchen sink because before I arrived, some college students had been living in my space and had left food out uncovered, and so the mice and rats arrived. And pythons live largely on rodents, and their tongues are their smell organ, and they stick their tongue out, and they can pick up the scent of a rodent from a quarter of a mile away. So if the rodent is in Berkeley High's football stadium, they're on it. They got it, locked in, they'll be there in a minute for dinner. No travel. So I didn't know this. And so here I was on a Sunday morning with my meditation group, and people hadn't arrived yet, and I was just kind of complaining. I said, I got these rats under the sink. We're going to have to get that have a heart trap, and we really hope it doesn't hurt them, and then we got to put them in the car and take them away. You have to be careful where you let them go so they don't wind up, in somebody else's kitchen or somebody's cat. What am I going to do? And Mel, who's, taking the precepts, and she's a good meditator, she's a good Aussie, she says, "Oh, rats? Well, you could always get a python," she said. And I said, "I'm in Australia." Only in Australia is that the solution to rats under the sink. You could get a python. So that's considered to be, an appropriate response. So don't have python movies. I can't find them, but I will show you yellow-faced whip snake movies. Check it out. Yes, but not deadly. Called mildly venomous. I am about 4 feet away, and these are very sociable snakes. They live in family groups, and they're extremely fast if they're agitated. She, I'm assuming, didn't pick up on me, didn't smell me, and didn't notice that I was there. Sniff, 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 sniff. So the answer is almost always, when confronted with a snake, is slowly back up, don't betray fear, and let it go away, because they don't want to have anything to do with you as a human. And if you give it a chance, they will happily disappear. This one is about 4 feet. I'm a little nervous. That's why the camera's dancing all around. But this is a very proper, healthy whip snake. Because they're motions. They're really fast. And you see how, sinuous and whip-like they are. There you go. I was circumambulating the Arhat trail that day, and he is right under Bodhidharma's image. I went back half a dozen times later and didn't find him or her. Yeah. Okay. Next week, Serafina, the python. We'll show. Oh, let's see. Wait, one more chance. Hold on. Could it be that they're here? Nope. Nope. Okay, next week. Okay, so there we go. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to share those. If we can run the screen up, we'll bow to the Buddhas and have a week full of blessings and expedient wisdom. And we'll see you all same time, same place next week for the beginning of the 8th ground. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo Oh, Buddha.